Hi, and welcome to Lippy Presents Ghost News Network. Today is our question of the week. Tom, you got our question for us? What do you got?
So my question for everyone here is, how do you feel about the Ouija board, and would you use one, or have you used one on an investigation?
Ouija board. Well, it's a board game. Parker Brothers ain't out to get us. But once again, it's how the intent is to use it is what's dangerous. The board itself is not dangerous. Like I said, the manufacturer's not out to get everyone possessed.
Right.
It's the intent and how you're using it which is dangerous. And a lot of people that don't understand what they're doing. You know, and what you're doing is you're taking your hands, you're putting them on the planchette, and you're asking, you know, your passed away relative to communicate with you. Fine and dandy. But in the spiritual world, you don't know who's standing there. And if it happens to be demonic, you're allowing it free will for that entity to enter into your body, to use your hands to manipulate that piece. That's the problem. That's the issue. I know a lot of mediums and psychics, and this is where they disagree with me, and I will disagree right back. They say that they can tell the difference between a negative energy, demonic, or a regular relative that passed away. No, you cannot. And any demonologist will tell you that in the field. No, you can't tell. Because they're manipulative. They're not going to let you know. If they want you to know, they'll let you know. So that's the problem with it. Would I ever use one? I've used one when I was a kid. You know, 13 years old, stupid, not knowing, you know. Does that mean I'm possessed? No. It's very unlikely. But it can happen. And it doesn't mean it's going to happen at that time. Which is, everyone thinks, just because you use a Ouija board at 20 years old, nothing happened. All right, I'm good, I'm off the hook. No, it might hit you back 20 years later when you have a wife and 3 kids.
Right.
And who is it going to attack? It's going to attack them.
Right.
Because that's how it breaks you down. So I just never heard of anything good coming from a Ouija board. So my advice is just to stay away from it. That's it.
Yeah, I think that's kind of the company line when it comes to that stuff. Like Mike is saying, it's time's not linear for things in a spiritual world. They're, you know, 2 minutes for us is not 2 minutes for them. You know, 20 years for us is not 20 years for them. So, and again, if they're going to latch on, they're going to latch on in a time that is convenient for them, not for you. I had a friend of mine that I knew in the paranormal field up in Massachusetts when I was up there, and her neighbors were using a Ouija board, and they were trying to summon something, didn't know what they were doing. Nothing happened during their session to them. Something latched on to her child. And the child, to this day, this is 12 years ago, this kid is a grown man now, still has problems to this day. I mean, I haven't spoken to them in a few years, but last I heard, he was still getting scratches, he was still having problems, he was still, you know, having issues and stuff like that because of it. And, you know, you don't take into consideration of who's around you. You know, who's to say, if I'm calling something here, why wouldn't it go for my neighbor who's weaker-willed? You know, you're giving it an area to what's it called? And there's no set restrictions when you're using that. You're not saying you can only stand right there next to that chair. You're not doing that. You're saying come over here by me, anywhere by me, and let's see what happens. You know, I got 3 kids. No thanks. God help those children if I find them with a Ouija board. But like, it could be anything. Like you could use a chalkboard and just write yes, no, and put a cup there and use it. You know, anything. As soon as you're asking something to enter into you to move it, it's, you know. So no, and no to both questions. Anybody else?
I've used one a couple times, not really knowing the full extent of what I was doing. We actually
ignorance is not bliss in this case.
My friend's house. It turns out that her sister actually used it before us because that's when we decided to use it because there was activity.
Right.
So we used it 2 times, both at separate parties. Nothing really happened, but there was, the second time we did it, we were in complete darkness, and there was a bang from the other side of a wall that had no room next to it, and no one believes me because it was pitch black.
Yeah.
I know I didn't hit the wall.
Right.
And we had continuous activity after using it, not during using it.
Right.
So, but she got the house cleansed, and it's good now. But I would never use one again.
Learn the hard way.
Yeah.
By the way, there's something sitting right behind you.
Yeah, I vote no.
No?
No one no.
That's it? Just no one know?
No, no. Never have, never will.
Michelle?
Well, I've used them, but I've used proper protection,
Right.
as with anything.
Right.
No, don't
However,
buy it.
Don't buy it.
however, I would.
Michelle.
I'm not really me, but however, I really don't condone using the Ouija board unless you're an experienced a person. I don't like to say the word magician, but in that genre.
Right.
You know, if you're, trained in the magical arts, that's one thing, but, because sometimes good can come out of it, although very few and far between
Right.
with the inexperienced individual.
Right.
It's with anything, any type of device, whether it's a Parker Brothers game, like you said, it's intent, but it's like any tool, you have to know how to use it
Mhm.
properly, and so there's safety for everybody.
Right.
But I don't particularly care for using the Ouija board anyway. There's just too much going on there.
It's too much of an open-ended
Right.
thing.
Yeah, I don't doubt that you can't get good from it. Like
Right.
you say, like I'm sure there's times where, you do get answers and it's nothing negative, and nothing negative attached. But there's always, I always look at it as there's always that, it's not a big percentage, it's a small percentage, but if it can,
Right.
I don't want to go there. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah, it's like the Murphy's Law thing.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah.
Yep.
But
Anything you want to add?
For me, no and no. I mean, I was raised that I wasn't allowed to have one in the house as a kid. My parents would have flipped out if I brought one into the house. So that was instilled in me young, and that healthy fear and respect of it never went away. So,
Yeah.
and again, I think just for that reason is you never know. So
Yeah.
why take the chance, even if you think you know what you're doing? Because there could be something on the other side that knows way better than you do.
You wouldn't go out into the street and tell a stranger to come home with you. I mean, that's essentially what it comes down
Here,
to.
little child, I have some candy.
So, and for us, I know that's a big red flag. If someone has something going on in their house and they say that they've used one, that's something we have to take in consideration when we go in. So,
Stranger danger applies to the paranormal world as well.
yeah.
So. All right. Thank you very much for that, Tom. So what do you guys think? Have you ever used Ouija board, and have you done it during a paranormal investigation? If you are in a team, let us know in the comments section below. And if you haven't yet, you can give us a like, share, and subscribe. And you can also click the little notification bell to know when all of our content is being uploaded to YouTube. So thank you guys very much for joining us on this latest edition of Ghost News Network. And until next time, take care, guys.